Hi, hello. Welcome back to my witch obsession. In today's video, we'll be talking about Venus in Aries for all 12 zodiac signs. Venus will be in Aries from March 6th up until March 30th. And as always, timestamps will be in the description box below. And that's it. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on the way down there. And I hope to see you in my next video. I love you. See you there. Okay, starting out with Sagittarius rising. So hello, Sagittarius. If you're seeing this, this will be Venus in Aries for you. So Venus is moving through your 5th house, which is a really fun house. Venus is really happy in the 5th house. She's like lit there. And especially in Aries, there is a lot of emphasis on having fun and a lot of enjoying yourself. And I was actually thinking about this because Venus rules your 6th house and your 11th house, which I feel like are very two different houses. So it kind of seems like a lot of you are going to be pivoting throughout this transit, especially because right on like the 7th and 8th, Venus will come into conjunctions with Saturn and Neptune. So like you're getting real serious about this. So I would imagine that a lot of you are pivoting in the sense that you're incorporating fun into your routine or you're scheduling things. It's kind of like, hey, like I'm so down to go to a party, but you know, we have to work around my schedule. Kind of like that, where a lot of you have probably dealt with a lot of this over the past few weeks where things are just piling on top of each other, and maybe especially with the Mercury retrograde, it's been really annoying and kind of difficult to compile your routine. People have probably been flaking on you. I've been noticing that in a lot of Sag risings, or you've been the one flaking because it's a little bit difficult to develop some sort of steadiness in your day-to-day schedule. And I do get the sense that this will be an opportunity for a lot of you to get back into dating, get back into parties, hanging out with your friends, or going to events, you know, birthday parties and other sorts of gatherings, maybe even like meetings or like, you know, parties hosted at work. I think that there will be a lot of opportunity for that. And especially because Mars is in your 4th house now, and Mars is the ruler of your 5th house. Maybe a lot of you are hosting things in your home, maybe you're having friends come over. This makes me think of like sleepovers or like house parties, or maybe even for some of you like getting tangled up with somebody from the past in some way, shape, or form. Especially with Mercury retrograde, I think that a lot of you have probably already dealt with people coming back from the past or hearing back from other people whom you haven't spoken to in a really long time. And this has probably just been an ongoing theme. And I think that this will continue to be a theme as Venus finishes up in Aries. And around like the 19th, we see like this new moon in Pisces in your 4th house. So I get the sense that a lot of you are going to get like a blast from the past. And this is where a lot of you will sow seeds for new beginnings later on in the future. And I think that Venus in the 5th house could also bring news revolving around children. A lot of you could be coming up with resolutions around children, or maybe there's something going on with your own kids if that has been a theme in your life and there's some sort of like sense of autonomy there. And especially with Venus coming into square with Jupiter around the 18th, around that threshold, I think that a lot of Sag risings, if you have kids, this will be like, you know, like helping them financially or establishing some sort of like they are autonomizing themselves, is that the word? Or like, you know, they will somehow in some way, shape, or form be independent, and you will be providing a service or helping them do that. So this could be like, obviously depends on how old they are, but maybe like setting up something for your children, like, you know, money, like a plan, like your will, you know, what they're gonna get from you. But this could also be like opening up bank accounts for them, or giving them a credit card, or like not giving them, but you know, like helping them open up stuff like that to where they can apply for loans or get their own money in some way, shape, or form. For others of you, I also think that this could be a lot of intimate healing in your romantic relationships, and maybe even wanting to take your connections to the next level, you know, like moving in or taking action in the home, signing leases, or like opening up a joint account. And if that's not the case for Sag rising, if you're like single and you're like not trying to have kids, I also think that this could be getting back to the basics of what you find to be fun and doing what it is that you want to do, especially because Aries is very independent and wants to do things on its own. And like in the 5th house, like that is exaggerated. But because Venus doesn't really like being in Aries, and having your 6th house and 11th house ruler be in its detriment, or you know, in its fall, it could just be feeling like there are times where you're kind of rushing yourself, or maybe there's a sense of impatience, you know, like, oh, like, why can't I just find the love of my life now? Or like, oh my gosh, like, why can't I just do everything that I want to do right now? Why do I have to stick to responsibilities and work and whatnot? So I think that a lot of you will be having to, especially with Saturn involved, a lot of you will have to get very disciplined and very serious about pleasure and enjoying yourself and sort of learning to pace yourself, especially because Venus in Aries to me is like very hedonistic at times, in the sense that it can be very impulsive with shopping, with intimate affairs, you know, like getting with people, if you know what I'm saying, and whatnot. So especially like with Venus in the 5th house and like with Saturn, you really are not trying to get no pregnancy scare or anything like that. So I would just lay low, or I would try to really temper yourself a little bit, because there are other ways to enjoy yourself. A lot of you could also be getting into swimming or, you know, exercising more. I know a lot of Sag risings have been getting into like the gym or wanting to move about a lot more. And especially with the square to Jupiter, I think that there will be a health situation that further incentivizes you to be more conscious about your body. And since Jupiter is in your 8th house, it is revolving around your hormones, revolving around your reproductive organs. And especially if it's anything that you inherited from your mom specifically, because Jupiter's in Cancer in the 8th house. But aside from that, it's Sagittarius. I think that you'll really like this transit. I think that it'll be a nice change of pace, because all this Piscean energy in the skies has probably really burnt you out, or made you kind of feel like you're out of tandem in some way, or like you're out of tempo and you're having to sort of recalibrate yourself. And Venus in Aries will definitely help you do that. A little bit more of a familiar fiery energy that will allow you to have more fun, and it will allow you to take more action, you know, especially if you've been like, oh, when I feel like it, I'll do it, and you're like, no, I'm gonna do it right now. So I think that that'll be really nice for a lot of you, and I think that you'll really enjoy it. Sorry, I need to comb my hair. But speaking of, actually, I think I'll pose in it for a thumbnail in the next, when I actually decide to fix my hair. But I also want to note that around the 26th, Venus will come into a conjunction with Chiron. I really want you to pay attention to that one, because I've been noticing if you're one of those Sag risings that has been dealing with like healing your body or like health stuff, you know, around the 26th, be careful of like head injuries, be careful of harming yourself, you know, Aries and Mars, because Mars is in Pisces, so it makes me think of like injuries to your feet, injuries to your head, like cuts, scrapes, bruises on these parts of your body. And it could be like something that catapults into something else. And then Mars rules your 12th house, so it could be like having to be on like bed rest or going to a hospital. So like, you know, feelings of like isolation, or for some reason being, you know, on your own. And you know, Venus rules your 6th house of like service workers, so like nurses and whatnot. So pay attention to that. I also think that Venus ruling your 6th house and moving through your 5th house, a lot of you could also be creating work through creative hobbies, or a lot of you could be finding work with children or like other corporations, social groups, and a lot of you could be like networking around this time, so shaking hands with people. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Let's pull you a card. I've been really into this tarot deck. It's one of my favorites, I swear. Venus and Aries for Sagittarius. For you, we have the Knight of Swords. Pretty interesting card in my eyes. I definitely think that, you know, Knight of Swords is an impulsive energy. He says what he wants to say, and he doesn't hesitate to say it. He's very focused, and he's very razor sharp in his conviction. He doesn't think twice about doubting himself. And the Knights, you know, they want to prove themselves, and the Swords is about mental capacity and thoughts and communication. So a lot of you may be aiming to prove yourself in this way, shape, or form. But this could also signify that offerings are coming to you verbally or mentally, and this could just be a time where your mind is very overactive. So definitely pace yourself, because the Knight of Swords can sometimes get ahead of himself, or sometimes he can, you know, like, but I also think that this is more of like just like a vibe check. It doesn't really feel like advice. It's just kind of like letting you know, like, hey, like, this will be a time where a lot of information and knowledge will be flowing. So if you felt like you've been kind of like lackluster in the past few months and weeks, I think that this will be a time where information starts to really pick up its pace and things become a little bit more apparent for you. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Sagittarius. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the reading resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you. Okay, now we have Aries rising. So hello, Aries rising. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for Venus in Aries. Venus will be in Aries from March 6th up until March 30th. And for you, this is moving through your first house. And I think that a lot of Aries placements should really utilize this placement or this transit because Saturn and Neptune are in your first house. So a lot of you may be feeling very confused when it comes to your status, your work, your career, what it is that you want to do, where you stand on certain things, maybe even developing some sort of like situation when it comes to perceiving your body and how you feel about yourself, just like your persona. And I think that Venus in Aries combined with Saturn and Neptune, it definitely shows that there will be some sort of discipline with developing boundaries for you and your body and your standpoint in life. And I say this because I feel like a lot of Aries placements will definitely start this transit out, feeling like a little bit groggy or feeling upset. But I think as time moves on and Venus comes into a square of Jupiter on the 18th in a conjunction with Chiron on the 26th, there will be an opportunity for you to establish some sort of autonomy, especially from your family in some way, shape, or form. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you are trying to move, or a lot of you are trying to establish some sort of like independence when it comes to your values and your financial situation, because Venus rules your second house and your seventh house. So, like your relationship and value ruler being in your first house in Aries, inherently selfish sign, like let's not even lie. You're trying to focus more on what you want and what makes you happy and what romanticizes, what is romance to you and what is fun to you. And not even romance in the sense that like it could be romantic relationships for a lot of you, especially with an older person, because Saturn's here, and Saturn and Venus, there could be like an older person in your life. It could be a woman and she's maybe like very important to you in some way, or maybe she's like particularly restricting with you, and perhaps you're having to establish autonomy from her, or like learn something from her. It could be like a woman or like a grandmother. But I also believe that this could just be something where a lot of you are getting more serious about your alone time and maybe even isolating yourself in some way, because Mars, your chart ruler, is now going to be in your 12th house. So a lot of you could be going to places to rest, recuperate, and essentially meditate in some way. And this could be how you are glowing up per se, or how you are being more aligned with like your appearance and who you are and what you stand for. Because I definitely get the sense that Aries placements have already tried a lot of things or dabbled into a lot of ideas in order to improve yourself or to work on yourself in whatever way. And it seems like there's been like a huge delay because of like the Pisces stellium, especially if you've been like in and out of a hospital, or like having to attend to like grieving duties or taking care of something else in your life after some sort of like a loss or difficulty. And I think that that will be exaggerated throughout this period, but I think that a lot of Aries risings will be very incentivized to deal with it on their own and to push forward. And I think that'll be a nice thing for you, because we see this new moon in Pisces around the 19th, and that's about when Mercury will also station direct and Venus will come to that square of Jupiter. So I think that around that time, a lot of you will decide like, no, like I want to be independent. And this could be manifesting as you cleaning up your home, decluttering your home, or coming to terms with something that happened in your past and essentially letting it go to develop a new perspective on it, so that you can move forward no longer as a victim, but as somebody who has gained a valuable lesson, and now you can move forward knowing what you know. And I just think that there's like a very spiritual tone to this transit for you, because the ruler is in your 12th house. So it kind of gives like monk vibes, or it kind of gives, those vibes of like consulting like a tarot reader or like an astrologer or somebody who can help you on this. And it might not even be that. A lot of you could also just be like, no, like I want to learn these things on my own and be on my own so I can bring healing into my life. Healing your body subconsciously will also be what causes you to heal on a physical, more 3D level. So it's like, if you feel like you are like binge eating, or if you feel like, like you're consuming rapidly, or if you are overindulging in some way, shape, or form in your life, a lot of you are probably trying to restrict yourself through like discipline and whatnot. But with the ruler in the 12th house, it kind of makes me think of like, okay, like what is like the emotional cause of it, like what traumatized me, what caused me to be so fearful, to where I feel like I need to constantly fill my life up with like these material, like tangible things in order to feel a sense of worthiness. And I think that this will be a time, because Mars does also have ties with your 8th house of trauma and secrets. And especially when it comes to, like Jupiter in your 4th and like the squares, it's kind of like, how is this manifesting when it comes to like my family, my home, my lineage, and my background. and my childhood and whatnot. But overall, I just think that Venus in the first house is a very, very literal transit where a lot of you could just be looking good right now. People are probably very drawn to you, attracted to you, or a lot of you are just investing more in your appearance, you know, buying new clothes. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you get into like, you know, like piercings, tattoos, and Aries, it makes me think like getting like a haircut or, you know, redoing your hair, dyeing it, braiding it, getting something in it or whatnot. So a lot of you could definitely be doing something like that. Funny enough, maybe you could even be like buying like hats and stuff. So, you know, because Aries rules the head, so it makes me think of like, speaking of head, let me pose for a thumbnail. I don't like that. I just wanted to show off my dimple right there. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm not gonna put that one in, but anyways, Aries, I definitely do think that you'll like this transit because it'll be a change of pace, since like I've been noticing that all fire risings have been sort of like MIA, or like there is like what's going on in your physical realm, like in the sense that like you're probably very busy right now, you know, like taking care of work, taking care of labor, something about like a parent and having to deal with like over restrictive tendencies from them, or like a boss in your life. But then like deep down emotionally, like you're kind of realizing like, okay, like why am I repeating these patterns? Why am I doing this like that? And just feeling like there is designated time that you're setting aside to introspect and get plenty of rest. And that will definitely be highlighted throughout this transit, but more so also what you learn in private will be integrated into how you move in, you know, in the world, and it will manifest in your career and your interpersonal relationships. Let's pull you a card. I've been so in love with this deck. I've always loved it, but lately I just like, yes. For you, we have the Queen of Wands. Definitely could show, like, once again, maybe there is a fiery woman in your life that is in some way, shape, or form significant. But I also get the sense, like, this is you know, stepping up to the plate. The Queen of Wands is fearless. She is, okay, this imagery, she kind of reminds me of Moana. So it's kind of that sense of like being very independent, being very fierce. You know, she was like one of the first princesses. If I haven't really seen a lot of Disney movies and whatnot, or like, is that even Disney? But you know, like she was one of the first princesses we've seen that's like, you know, she's like very like brazen and like flamboyant, and it gives me the sense that a lot of you are embracing this energy, where a lot of you are probably breaking walls and doing things the way that you want to do, and standing up and setting out on a journey and to learn something for yourself. She's very passionate. She does what she wants when she wants, and she's not afraid to do it. So anyways, that's all I have for you, Aries. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope and reading resonated. And if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you. Okay, now we have Taurus rising. So hello, Taurus rising. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for Venus and Aries. And Venus will be in Aries from March 6th up until March 30th. And this is particularly important for you since this is your chart ruler. And I think that because Venus is moving to the 12th house, this is really literal. When I see 12th house transits, I used to just be like, oh, like, this is like a very introspective time where you're spending time alone, you know, thinking, getting rest, fixing up your bedroom and whatnot, which is very true. But the 12th house also deals with hospitals. It deals, and, you know, Venus is you, like, you are Venus. And, like, you know, the hospitals, you know, emergency rooms, morgues, cemeteries, churches, mausoleums and stuff like that, and you know, foreign land, places you've never been before. So a lot of you could be going to places like this. And because Venus rules your 6th house as well, it could be for work, it could be for like a work situation. So like maybe you're not going to these places because you're like on your deathbed or anything like that, but I could definitely see it as like a lot of you are going to these places in order to, you know, travel or just be somewhere because you need to be, to provide some sort of service or do something. And I want to say that because Mars, your 12th house ruler, is also going to be in Pisces by this point, in your 11th house. So Definitely not a time where if you meet friends and whatnot, don't go to places that they invite you to and you've like never been there before. So it's like if you meet someone, they're like, hey, do you want to go to this house party? Like you don't really know them. I would say like stay away from things like that. Not that you should ever do those, but especially during this time, there may be this inclination to step out of your comfort zone and be somewhere that you've never been before, which is a good thing to do, but I think that you should do it with people who you really trust. I also think that this could be a time where a lot of you are stepping into uncharted emotional territory with partners or relationships in your life in some way, shape, or form, because Mars also has connections to your seventh house of interpersonal connections and romance and marriages. So this could be a time where a lot of you are dealing with something like that. Some of you could specifically be going through like a elope, because the 12th house makes you think of like churches. So like maybe a lot of you are just going to like a church to get like quickly married or something, be like, oh, like let me just get this over with, especially because Aries is very quick and it wants to get things done very soon and immediately. And I want to mention that around the 18th, around the 18th, we're going to see Venus come into a square with Jupiter, who is in your third house, which is a time I really want you to pay attention to, because this could be a time where a lot of you are receiving like an influx of information and communication. And this could also be something going on with your family, especially with like there could be secrets coming out. A lot of you could be learning about family members that you've never met before, or this could be a time where like maybe you're having to take care of or provide a service or help somebody else get over something, because like the third house, your third house is ruled by Cancer, which makes me think of like your mother, so like your mother's side of the family, and like Venus is a woman. So like taking care of someone in like a hospital, or like having to take care of, like visit. Anyways, excuse me. And Venus will also come into a conjunction with Chiron. So maybe some Taurus risings have also been dealing with like a health situation. I know some Taurus risings here and there have been dealing with like health stuff or trying to like recover in some way, shape, or form. And I just want to say like definitely be careful, because Venus conjunct Chiron around the 26th will definitely be a time where a lot of you may be like recovering or like receiving injuries or having to, like, and Mars rulers in Pisces. Pisces makes me think of like fluids and stuff, and Mars is in Neptune sign and Neptune is in Mars sign, so there's kind of like mutual reception there. So like excessive fluid loss, bleeding and vomiting and stuff like that. So definitely take care and make sure you're getting plenty to drink water, and try to like maybe drink nutrients and take supplements and whatnot through that way. I'm no health expert and that's not like medical advice, but I'm just saying like that's what that makes me think of. But on the other side of that, I also just think that Venus in the 12th house could definitely call for like secret romance, and like because Venus rules your 6th house, maybe it's like revolving around work situations. So maybe there's something going on at work where customers or clients are like secretly into you, or like there's like work drama going on, like especially Aries, conflict, and Mars is in the 11th house. So like conflict among like friends, among peers, co-workers, social circles, especially when it comes to like love affairs and passion and hidden grudges and anger. And especially like right at the beginning of the transit, because Venus will come into a conjunction with Saturn and Neptune around like the 7th or the 8th, around that threshold, because Venus moves into Aries on the 6th, and Saturn rules your 9th house. So this could maybe even be like I said, like foreign affairs, maybe having to deal with something from very, very far away. It kind of makes me think like for some reason, like you're in the States and like you have a family member who is literally in like Russia, and you're having to like help them order pizza, and you're like, girl, like what does this have to do with me? Like you're all the way over there. Do they even have pizza over there? A lot of that where it seems just petty. And I also think that because Saturn rules your 9th house, if it not be that a lot of you are dealing with like snags in your schedule because of long distance matters and having to commute for work or something, or having to, especially like traveling by bodies of water, a lot of you could be having to fly overseas, or a lot of you could be having to go back and forth, over a body of water for some reason. And maybe this could even be like water causes an issue for whatever reason. So it could be like having to change locations, commute for work, or like getting your routine interrupted because like a place gets flooded or like a pipe explodes or something like that. So definitely take care with that. I've noticed that for Taurus risings happen before, and it is so literal. So definitely take care. But I also think that for a lot of you, this could be something about like your philosophies, your beliefs, and your faith in something. And Aries is, you know, wanting to be independent, like I said. So a lot of you could be wanting to develop your own beliefs and your own perspectives when it comes to your beliefs or when it comes to your formal educational pursuits. So I think that a lot of you are stepping into uncharted territory to learn something new throughout this transit in some way, shape, or form. Let's pull you a card. This deck. Oh wow, Aries got this too. You got the Queen of Wands. So this could definitely show like there's maybe like a fierce woman in your life that you're sort of going back and forth with, or being inspired by, learning from, or having to, you know, just like deal with. But this could also be your energy, Taurus, which definitely makes sense because, you know, your chart ruler in Aries. And, you know, Venus don't really like being in Aries, but I definitely get the sense that this is like doing what you need to do, doing what you have to do, even though nobody else seemingly wants to do it. So I think that this will be a transit where a lot of you are doing some kind of dirty work, or a lot of you are having to like roll your sleeves up and take care of something and put in some elbow grease to get it done. And I think that a lot of you will feel very satisfied afterwards. But just take care, because people might start relying on you, or might kind of just start feeling like you have to do everything yourself. So definitely don't be afraid to ask for help, or, you know, like kind of like, you know, tell people like, hey, like, can you like do this, you know, especially if it's not really your job to begin with. So be careful of that if you are picking up responsibilities that are not necessarily your own. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Taurus. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you. All right, so now we're at Gemini rising. So hello, Gemini. If you're, I feel like I should wave my hands since Gemini is like hands, so like hi. Hello, Gemini. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for Venus in Aries. Venus for you, or Venus will be in Aries from March 6th up until March 30th. And I have a feeling you'll really like this transit. I think we'll all like this transit just because it is like a change of pace. And I think that for you, it will be nice because Venus is moving through your 11th house, and the 12th, excuse me, the 11th house is so tea. Venus moving there, and Aries is the self. And I like this transit for you because I get the sense that a lot of Gemini risings have been wanting to initiate something in their life when it comes to like their career, their work status. And I think that a lot of Gemini risings have been really frustrated in this aspect of their life, you know, because it's like you're working jobs and you're kind of like hopping between jobs right now, or a lot of you are just trying to stay busy in some way, shape, or form. But it kind of maybe feels like you're being delayed in some way when it comes to like your more with your goals and your dreams that have a little bit more longevity. And I think that maybe this has been like difficult for you, especially because you have a stellium in the skies right now when it comes to your 10th house. So a lot of you may be feeling very restricted, or maybe a lot of you feel like a parent's in the way, or maybe some of you just kind of feel like career goals right now are very hazy, very foggy, very unclear, and maybe a lot of you are living in a dream or like some sort of daydream instead of actually doing something about it. And I think that this will be exaggerated throughout this transit, and I really want to exemplify for you, Gemini, like this transit will be good if you make it good and you make it a point to look for the people who can give you the opportunities that you need, because Mars will be in your 10th house in Pisces, and Mars in Pisces is very reactive, and it's kind of like it responds as opposed to initiating. And because Venus will be in like the brazen Aries in your 11th house, and the 11th house makes me think of like social networks, it makes me think of parties, it makes me think of groups of people. You know, like if you're at work and your friend is like, hey, do you want to go to this gathering and get coffee with my friends and I? Or hey, do you want to go to this work event? Or hey, do you want to go to like the flea market? Like that's very 11th house in my eyes. So I think that a lot of you should take these opportunities to get out there and be in these environments so that you can attract like-minded people. And it will require you to do something about it, because Aries initiates, and you know, Mars is in your 10th house. So it's like there's people around you who will react. So it's like 10th house makes me think of like higher ups, it makes me think of like bosses, even like CEOs, or like, you know, people who own things. And then, you know, Venus in Mars sign, it's like you take that initiative. And Venus for you rules your 5th house as well as your, sorry, I'm like thinking, your 12th house. So it's like being in places that you have never been before, stepping foot in places, especially if you're trying to get like a job, or like maybe like an internship, or you're trying to like create, and like if you're working with children, or if you're going to like hospitals, like churches, morgues, and stuff like that. If you're like, I don't know, trying to be like a mortician or something, maybe that's y'all's business. But aside from that as well, I think that because Venus specifically rules your fifth house, this is like a huge opportunity for a lot of you to show off what you can do, show off your work, show off your labor. And especially if you're trying to like create something or do something more creative for fun, you know, like Gemini is your hand. So it's like a lot of you want to create things with your hands and do something with your hands and keep busy and utilize this part of your body. And I think that Venus in the Aries will be an opportunity for you to do this, especially because Jupiter will also station direct on the 11th, and then Venus will come into a square with Jupiter around the 18th, and then we're going to have a new moon in Pisces on the day after, and then the day after that, Mercury will station direct in your 10th house. So it's like there's like a domino effect that's kind of going on here, and because Mercury is retrograde in your 10th house, I think that there's like an incentive here where a lot of you could be going back to a career, going back to a job, or you know, maybe switching something up in your career sector that is causing you to pivot and like take a few steps back. And I noticed a lot of Gemini risings like low-key never thought they would do this or didn't want to do it, but I think that this will be an opportunity for you to get back to the basics with something that you really like doing or something that you really enjoy. And I think that there is like a huge emphasis on your career, but because Venus is opposing your fifth house and the stellium in Pisces is opposing your fourth house, there's definitely something going on of like your personal life, and maybe there's like this huge pressure that you feel in order to follow the herd or do what other people are doing or taking advice from other people. But it's kind of like it would be better if you blaze a path for your own so that others can join you as opposed to the vice versa. And I think that because specifically Venus is opposing your fifth house, like maybe there's something going on here where a lot of you are like, man, I want to do this, I want to do that, but I'm not really able to, or like I don't care what you guys are doing, I want to do this on my own. So like some kind of balance needs to be found here when it comes to collaborating with other people. Otherwise you can be a little bit too selfish, or you can be a little bit too altruistic to where people are, you know, like you're doing so much for others but they're not really listening to the ideas that you have, so you end up having to just like follow others instead of doing what you want to do. Especially sorry, I'm like talking so fast. Venus will be coming to conjunction with Chiron around the 26th, and I really want you to pay attention to this day. This is a nice transit in that Venus is sextiling your ascendant, but sextiles require you to do something about it. It's like there's potential, but it can only be achieved if you actually take that initiative. So definitely keep an eye out for that. I think that because of the conjunction to Chiron, a lot of you could be having an emphasis on friend groups, you know, like meeting a friend or making a friend, or maybe even for some of you, like going back to a friend or like healing from a friend, or maybe like a friend comes back to you and then they're the ones that give you this opportunity. Especially with your seventh house ruler now direct in your second house, there's some sort of like, I've noticed a lot of Gemini risings have established some sort of like independence in their life, and this will maybe be coming back to like, you know, being around people who are also independent and finding new relationships and connections and networks that where a lot of you mutually benefit from doing the things that you want to do. So it's like finding people, finding networks that more so align with what you're doing right now. The 11th house also just makes me think of like common ideas. So kind of doing things that you want to do. So it's like, oh, I really like books. I like reading. So I want to go to places where people like reading as well, and I can be around people who like this stuff, and I want to be surrounded by this. But overall, I think that Venus in the 11th, lots of parties, lots of get-togethers, lots of rendezvous, and lots of events going on. A lot of you could be going to concerts, to tours, to gatherings, the club and whatnot. So a lot of you could be doing things like this, but if those aren't things that you're interested in, it's also just going to places, you know, like bookstores, libraries, and parks, and just places that you really like being in. And because the ruler Mars is in Pisces, maybe it's like going to like the beach or going to like a swimming party or like a pool party or something like that. So yeah, that could be relevant for a lot of you. Anyways, let's shuffle the cards and see what happens. For you, we have the Five of Swords. I definitely get the sense that a lot of you will be having to cut ties or sort of let something go, especially with that Venus square Jupiter around the 18th. It makes me think of like, man, like, I don't want to let go of this because I'm like emotionally attached, or I don't want to do this to someone, but I got to do what's best for me, what makes me happy, and I need to set out to do what you know, what fills my cup up. I can't keep doing what others want me to do. I can't keep, you know, giving myself up and wasting my own time or giving up my time in order to assist others and be there for people. So I think that a lot of Gemini risings will end up making a difficult decision throughout this process in order to pursue something that they have dreams for, something that makes them happy, and something that, you know, you want to do and not what others want to do. Anyways, that's what I have for you, Gemini. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you. Okay, so now we have Cancer rising. Sorry, I just ate chocolate, but hello, Cancer. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for Venus in Aries. Venus will be in Aries from March 6th up until March 30th. Sorry, I'm like thinking, but oh my gosh, I like completely missed a part. Like, so the thing that I'm thinking about right now is Venus will be in your 10th house, and it will come into conjunction with Saturn and Neptune in your 10th house, which is really potent because Saturn's very powerful in the 10th house. And I think that a lot of you are getting very serious about your career in some way. Like, I'm sure a lot of y'all heard that coming. I think that career is going to be a sore spot for you for the next like 2-3 years. And I think that this Venus transit will be the thing that kind of like really starts kicking it off more for you and makes it more real, because Saturn and Neptune are opposing your 4th house, and now Venus, your 4th house ruler, is also opposing it. So there is like a huge incentive here to put forth more effort when it comes to your career and your work, and also like your work-life balance. So it's like, you know, are you working so much to where you're not able to tend to your emotional attachments, whether it be your family, your dog, your plants, the stuff that you want to do at home, something like that. You know, you're kind of like, girl, like, I'll be paying all this money in rent only to not even be home, you know, like I may as well just live in my car. So, you know, a lot of you could be dealing with something like that. But I also think that because Saturn rules your 7th house and Venus also has ties with your 11th house, this could also be something about power dynamics in your social circles, your interpersonal relationships, especially if you are like married or if you are in a serious committed relationship. A lot of you could be trying to find some sort of balance here, you know, where it's like, man, I want to spend time with my friends. I'm tired of being with my husband or wife, you know, like they kind of like, you know, it's finding some kind of like middle ground there. And because Neptune's in the mix, it might be very confusing, or it might be very difficult, especially because Neptune rules your 9th house. So maybe something about like your beliefs and your philosophies could be kind of getting in a clash, you know, where you're kind of like, no, like I believe that I should have friends and do what I want to do, but my partner doesn't believe in that, and I'm just kind of having to, you know, like clash with them about it. And, you know, that doesn't have to be the exact manifestation for all of you, of course, but it's just kind of that sense of where like where you stand might not be where another party stands, and a lot of you are having to find some sort of like balance in between that and somehow rearrange your personal life in order to either accommodate it or to force them to accommodate you. Especially if you're going back and forth with like domineering bosses or like a aggressive parent in your life, you know, because it's opposing your 4th house. It makes me think that a lot of you could be going back and forth with a parent or somebody whom that you live with. But this could also be that there is some sort of like a compromise in your living situation, and maybe some of you are either having to move, have someone stay with you, get roommates so that, you know, something is cheaper and whatnot. So, especially since the ruler of all this, Mars, is in your 9th house still. And so a lot of you could maybe be having to travel for work, commute, or maybe some of you are like in one place and you're having to work in another time zone. I know like that's a thing. I did not know that was a thing, but apparently that's a thing, where it's like, say for example, like if you're in the States, maybe you live in like the East Coast, but you're having to work West Coast hours or vice versa, or something like that. And maybe for some of you, this could also be like, you know, property affairs. Maybe some of you are trying to sell property, or maybe you're literally a realtor or like a lawyer, or you're having to work with like realtors or like law firms in order to, excuse me, sort something out. Especially since Saturn rules your 7th house of legal affairs. So maybe some of y'all are in a court battle with somebody and you're having to sort of like deal with that as well. Or like I said, this could be like also like travel matters. But I also think that this could be something about like beliefs and philosophies, especially if you're like in a system where, you know, like how I said that this could be something about a clash of beliefs, like especially if you're in a system where like religion or like, you know, like things like that are very much at play when it comes to constriction or work and whatnot. So that's y'all's business. That's all I'll say about that. But I also want to say that around the 18th, we are going to, the 18th through like the 20 something is going to be like 25th will be like very important. The 18th, Venus will come into square of Jupiter, who is now stationed direct. And then the 19th, we have a new moon in Pisces. And then the 20th, Mercury will go direct. So that will be a point in your life where there is a lot of going back and forth and a lot of like pivoting. And because Mercury will be retrograde for all of this, and Jupiter will just have station direct, you know, so it's like Mercury's in a Jupiter ruled sign and it's still retrograde, but Jupiter's direct. It's kind of like new beginnings, forward movement based on something that you are tending to, like pivoting back to the past and double stepping or doubling back and then starting something new from it. And for you, I would imagine that's, like I said, revolving to moving long distances, in-law family members, or having to go back and forth with extended family, legal matters and whatnot, resubmitting applications, doing something again that you haven't done before. The ninth house can also be about like, you know, education. So especially with Venus in the 10th house, maybe a lot of you are trying to get formally educated for some sort of like certification or trying to become applicable for something when it comes to work. So it's like going back to school for like a master's or like a PhD or like a doctorate. Is PhD and doctorate the same thing? Or maybe even this is just some of y'all like graduating for your bachelor's or your associates. But if that not be the case, you know how sometimes jobs force you to like take a course or like a training program or something, and that's something you do on your own time? That could also be something that's going on for a lot of you. And, you know, if that not be the case, I just think that this is a lot of you having to change up your personal life in order to accommodate something in your career. So it could just be that you're doing the same thing, but it's starting to take on a toll in your personal life and you're having to sort of like change that up. You're kind of like, oh, like I really love this job. It's really good, but I'm so tired of like commuting a few hours for it. So I'm just going to have to move. Or, oh, I'm so tired of doing this. So I'm going to, you know, like move in with somebody or something like that. I'm going to move back home. That could definitely be a case for a lot of you. And it could be that a lot of you are having to leave something behind because Aries is new beginnings. Aries likes to do things on its own, like I said, and especially when the 26th Venus will come into a conjunction with Chiron, so this could be a time where a lot of you are healing and recovering from something. I see it as like leading up until the 26th, you have to do something in order for you to like let go of something you're comfortable with in your personal life. And then the 26th is kind of like, okay, like let me come to terms with it, like let me move on and actually, you know, like it's time to do something and start a new chapter of my life, even though it may be a little bit like painful or a little bit like saddening. And Venus also having ties with your 11th house is pretty interesting. This could definitely be heavily involved with like, it makes you think socialite vibes, you know, like having to like attend to parties like to gain merit or to gain attention for whatever reason. But yeah, I definitely think that this is a time where a lot of Cancer risings will feel pressured to present themselves a certain way in order to appeal to people or in order to appeal to certain opportunities. I also think that this could definitely be something about like your goals, like how can you accommodate your career goals and your ambitions in order to benefit other people or to benefit your community and your friend groups. Closing my eyes. Ooh, for you, I have the Queen of Swords. Lots of queens coming out today. But anyways, Queen of Swords, she is not afraid to say what needs to be said and do what needs to be done, even if it hurts people or even hurts her. So a lot of you could be going back and forth with a feminine energy that is like this in your life, but this could also be you embracing a Queen of Swords energy where you decide to be a little bit more decisive, a little bit more clean cut. Even if it seems to hurt others or hurt you, it's like, no, this is what needs to be done, so I will get it done. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Cancer. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you. All right, now we are at Leo rising, so hello, Leo. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for Venus in Aries, and Venus will be in Aries from March 6th to March 30th. I want to give a special shout out to Leos or Leo risings right now because I'm filming this on March 3rd and it's someone's birthday today and she's very special to me, and I just wanted to like give a special shout out to you all and know that I just really appreciate you all and I appreciate her, and I hope it is a happy time for all of you. Now, Venus in Aries for you will be moving through your 9th house, which is a really nice transit. I definitely think a lot of you Leos might feel cheated right now. A lot of you might be kind of frustrated because people said that Saturn moving out of Pisces would be much better for you, which is still very true, but it's not time just yet because Mars, the ruler of all this, will be moving in your 8th house. So I'm going to put emphasis on that because Venus is moving through your 9th house, but the ruler of all this, the wrangler, is in the 8th house. So there will still be some undertones to this of like uprooting emotional trauma, your fears, and how that relates to your boundaries, where you've made sacrifices, and how this is manifesting as debt, financial matters, legal matters, having to split things up and let go of things and deal with grief and loss. Especially with like Venus in the 9th, it low-key makes me think that a lot of you could be dealing with loss or like grief on like an extended family. So maybe it's like your brother-in-law's grandma or like grandfather like suddenly becomes very ill or something like that. That could just be like a random thing for some of you. But overall, Venus in the 9th house is very curious. I think that at first this transit will have a bit of a sour undertone to it. Excuse me, because Venus will come into a conjunction with Saturn and Neptune. And Saturn rules your 6th house, and Venus rules your 3rd house as well as your 10th house. So definitely a lot of you could be trying to find work, and I think that this is like a really, really good time to do it. And specifically, maybe some of you are finding work that is remote or finding a job that is like way out of your league, like in territory that you've never done before. Or it could be that a lot of you are, finding remote work or just trying to look for some sort of labor. But this could also be that you are requesting labor, trying to look for somebody who can help you with something. And like 9th house and like the ruler in the 8th house, it makes me think of like finding someone who can do your taxes, looking for a foundation who can fund you with like insurance, unemployment, or money or something like that, and maybe even going to court for this. And especially because Saturn does technically have ties to your 7th house as well, so like a lot of you could be looking for a lawyer around this time or doing work in a literal law firm in order to deal with something about like money and like applications and the flow of information. And I especially think that because Mercury is also retrograde in your 8th house, this could definitely be a time where a lot of you are doubling back on like paying off credit cards, paying off loans and debts and whatnot, especially if you are looking to invest in property. But if that not be the case, I also think that the Venus in the 9th house transit could definitely be a time where a lot of you are getting more serious about your beliefs and your philosophies. And because Venus rules your 3rd and your 10th house, your beliefs and your philosophies when it comes to information, your career, your work, and your status and your reputation. I think that this could definitely be a time where a lot of you are maybe traveling, or a lot of you are like getting out there or investing money and learning about something in order to do something. Because I know a lot of Leo risings as of late have been like flying around, like committing to something, and it requires them to move across the country, or like buying flight tickets, or something is coming in the future and it requires you to have to pivot financially and when it comes to your day-to-day schedules, and maybe you're looking for someone who can help you, for somebody who can assist you and take care of things while you're gone. So, and this could also be feeling like you're in the wrong place. I noticed that a lot of Leo risings are like, man, I don't know if I want to live here, but where else would I go? So a lot of you could be dealing with something like that in your life as well. But I also think that the 9th house is very, of course, adventurous, and in Aries, it wants to do things first. So I think that this will be a time where a lot of you are maybe wanting to pursue some sort of knowledge or certification, or do things that nobody has ever done before. And there's like an inherent desire to be original in some way, shape, or form in your life at the moment. And Venus will come into a square with Jupiter around the 18th. And this is like a bundle of days that I really want you to pay attention to, Leo, and really anticipate. Because Venus will square Jupiter on the 18th. We will have a new moon in Pisces on the 19th. And then on the 20th, Mercury will station direct. So it kind of all leads up to Mercury going direct. So when it comes to, because Jupiter will square Venus on the 18th, Jupiter's in your 12th house. When it comes to like, I think that this is like a time where a lot of, what's that thing? Parasympathetic system, like your nervous system will be going through a lot of changes around this time. But I also think that this will be a time where a lot of you are setting out and meditating. I really want you to, specifically Leo, on the 18th through the 20th, spend time alone. And this might be a time where a lot of you are spending time alone. A lot of you could be grieving, letting go of something, watching something pass on, or a lot of you are just probably feeling very drained and very, disengaged, or like maybe even like disassociated. And this could be a time where a lot of you are wanting to meditate on your own and be alone. And I think that as you ruminate about things, like this will be where new beginnings sort of blossom up, because you decide to look at things from the past in a different light, with a different perspective, especially because Mars, your 4th house ruler, is also in your 8th house. So it's like trauma from your childhood, emotional difficulties, and then Venus being in Mars territory in the 9th house, like developing new philosophies, finding beauty and looking at things with a different perspective, and knowing that, you know, it's time to venture out and be in territory that you've never been before. Especially, you know, like you're probably breaking like a generational curse right now, Leo. And if that not be the case, I just think that this is also a time where a lot of you are just trying to explore right now, look for new resources, look for new places like libraries, you know, programs, offices, and other locations that can help you heal and further overcome something, or to at least alleviate something in your life. And if that not be the case, of course, too, I just think that a lot of you are feeling very adventurous and very curious right now. And a lot of you are probably just wanting to go places that you've never been before. Especially keep an eye out for the 26th, because Venus will come into conjunction with Aries or with Chiron. And I think that this will be like a huge culmination point for a lot of you, where a lot of you are having some intense revelations or coming to terms with something that has happened to you recently, developing a new perspective on it, and developing new emotional boundaries. I think that that has been like a huge theme for a lot of Leo risings, where you're trying to find and navigate emotional boundaries, and this has benefited not only you emotionally, of course, but it has also energized you, help you script more, help you come up with more plans, and also to manage your resources a lot better and your time, and to, you know, sort of settle back and kind of be like, okay, like let me just do things and things will find me on their own. I really don't need to step out of my way to make things happen for me all the time. It essentially seems like a lot of you are learning to be a bit more feminine, or to be a little bit more, not feminine, but like when you see an opportunity, you take it and make something happen. Like when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. That's what I'm getting from this. And, you know, 9th house is very glass half full, but Venus doesn't really like being in Aries, so there still might be a sort of discomfort when it comes to day-to-day activities. A lot of you could be driving a lot, moving around, having to go back and forth with phone calls, applications, and it might be very annoying because you might kind of feel like you're waiting, or you just don't feel like it, and it's really important that you take the action. Anyways, let's see. You might also feel like you're waiting on a lot of other people. You might kind of feel like people are developing a lot of opinions on you when you haven't even interacted with them. That might be frustrating. For you at the Queen of Coins, we've literally pulled like a queen for every other group. She does have her business house, so I don't want you to get mad at me, but Queen of Coins is very earthy. She's very motherly, and I especially think that with that square to Jupiter, there could be an emphasis on your mother throughout this transit. But this could also be about, like, you know, Queen of Coins, she knows self-care, she knows how to take care of her body, she knows how to heal herself. And especially if your chart ruler, the sun, being in your 8th house right now, like this is a time where tending to your body and your physical needs and what your body is doing will be very relevant to how you heal and how you cultivate abundance and good things in your life. So it all boils down to your body. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Leo. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you. Okay, so now we're at Virgo rising. So hello, Virgo rising. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for Venus in Aries. Venus will be in Aries from March 6th up until March 30th. I'm gonna just be real with you, Virgo. I don't think that this won't be a bad transit per se, but Venus being in a sign she don't like being in and moving through a house she don't like being in, Venus in the 8th house in Aries, like she don't want to be here. She's not trying to do all that. It's like a really great person having to work in like a very terrible environment, you know? It's like Venus will do what she needs to do, and she is receiving assistance from Saturn, because Saturn and Venus do have like a good relationship, but they're both just kind of like really irritated here. And I definitely see like mutual reception here, in the sense that they're like, hey, yo, like none of us trying to be here. Let's just work together and get this done. And, you know, like Venus rules your 2nd house as well as your 9th house. Sorry, I just blinked out. So I definitely think that there's a huge financial undertone to this transit for you. I almost said the S word. I don't know if I should be cussing on YouTube. But Venus, it makes me think that a lot of you, especially conjunct Saturn, your 5th house ruler, first of all, if you have children, this could definitely be a time where a lot of you are having to sort something out with them. You know, like the 8th house makes me think of like taxes, insurance. It makes me think of health matters. It makes me think of, you know, like health insurance, that's what I meant, and also like legal matters when it comes to like other people's money and like investments, and you know, like waiting for money back, money that is owed to you or money that you owe other people, like that will be a thing that's kind of sorted out here. But especially if it's related to kids or if it's related to like your own business. And you know, the ruler of your 8th house, Mars, is in your 7th house, so I definitely think that a lot of you could also be taking it to the next level in a relationship, or uncovering a lot of trauma that you've been put through in a relationship. And so it's kind of like I see like two very distinct energies here, where it's like on one hand a lot of you could be moving in with a partner, or like opening up a joint account with a partner, or even like receiving inheritance or like some sort of benefit from a partner. So it's like maybe someone on your partner side of the family is like passing away, or like you're going through something there, and this is you sort of having to pivot backwards and kind of take care of that. Like a partner, somebody else has maybe dealt with a tragic loss, and this is you trying to assist them and take care of them in some way, shape, or form. I think that a lot of Virgo risings, a lot of you might deal with like difficulties with like a father figure throughout Saturn and Aries. So I definitely want you to keep an eye out for that, because I think that this will be exaggerated throughout this Venus and Aries transit, and it will manifest through women in your life. So just keep an eye out for that. That's all I have to say about that. But I also think that because Venus rules your 9th house and in the 8th house, a lot of you could be getting very serious about like your spirituality and your religious standpoint and your faith in things. And I also want to say, like, if you're like, if it's not like opening up a joint account with like a partner and taking it to the next level, then this could also be like, oh, you know, especially because Mars, the ruler of all, you know, like been Pisces likes to ruminate, likes to reminisce, and it thinks about things that are not always very tangible. So it could be that a lot of you are also emotionally ruminating and uncovering a lot of trauma that has happened to you, that has threatened, you know, Aries themes in your life. So your individuality, your passion, your flames, and your excitement, and your desire to do things first and to set out on your own, your impatience. So I think that this will be a time where a lot of these things are uncovered for you. And I know like these aren't inherently nice things, but like honestly, Virgo, like you just know how to deal with the not nice things. So I think that even though this transit may be uncomfortable for you, I think that because it is in Aries and there is like initiative that should be taken, and it will be obvious, a lot of you will probably be, your reflexes and your instincts will probably be very sharp right now. Maybe not for like the first chunk of the transit, because Mercury, your chart ruler, is still retrograde in the 7th house. So there is still like confusion and like lack of like, you know, having to resort boundaries and having to, you know, like establish yourself in some way, shape, or form in your interpersonal connections. Or if that not be the case, especially when it comes to your career and your work, and maybe even a parent. And I really want you to pay attention to that too, because around the 18th, we will see Venus come into a square with Jupiter. And then on the 19th, we see a new moon in Pisces. And then on the 20th, Mercury will station direct. So these bundle of days will be very, very significant for you, for all of us, but especially for you, Virgo, when it comes to, I also just saw 444 in the time. I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't know, like, who said that? But I definitely think that a lot of you could be starting new beginnings in your interpersonal connections. And Pisces is very limitless. It doesn't need another person there in order to project a relationship. So this could be your relationship with something else, with someone who is no longer here with us, with God, with Creator, with the universe, with yourself, with a plant, with a table. So there's definitely a lot of projection that will be going on around the 19th, where a lot of you are developing a new connection with something bigger than you can fathom, and it will help you to feel a lot more whole, and it will allow you to be grounded while you overcome trauma and learn to take new action with it. And I also think that, you know, aside from that, a lot of you may establish some sort of like autonomy financially. I would say definitely be careful, but I think that this will be a time where a lot of you are, paying something off. I think that Venus moving through the 8th house is definitely a very uncomfortable transit, but I also think that because she likes to harmonize and she wants to bring peace, it's very like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this, I'm gonna, and it's like, you know what, whatever, I'll just take care of it and get it over with, so it's kind of like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to pay this bill, I don't want to take care of, like, this is not my business, I don't want to do that. And you're kind of like, okay, whatever, I'll do it anyways, I have to do it, what are you gonna do, so a lot of that. So a lot of you may be getting very frustrated with like responsibilities and bills and financial obligations, but then you'll have the resources and the desire and the motivation to get it over with and take care of it. That's one thing I think you'll like about this transit, especially because a lot of planets moving through your 7th house Virgo, you may have felt like you're sort of like having to compensate other people or compensate other things, or a lot of you have probably dealt with frustrating delays in your life, and it's causing delays in your interpersonal relationships with like legal matters, with like signatures, documents, property affairs, and like flights and whatnot. So a lot of your schedule has probably been like annoyingly taken out by a lot of this, but I also think that it has allowed you to take care of some sort of like foundational work when it comes to your resources, your money, and also bringing more structure to yourself emotionally. Just take care to not project this onto partners, and take care to avoid angry outbursts of people. Like, this could be a time where arguments are running a flare. This could be a time where frustration is running high, and you can become very irritable around this time, especially because the 8th house is like our hormones and whatnot. So definitely take care and try not to take this out on children, not take this out on your partners and whatnot. Take a moment, blow off steam in whatever way that you need to, and then kind of come back to the situation, because I think that will be a lot better for you, and it will help you avoid a lot of emotional struggles. Let's pull a card. Aries can also be like really, really anxious, interestingly enough. So definitely take care to blow off steam in order to relieve your anxiety as well, if you are dealing with that. What card are we gonna pull? I'm closing my eyes. For you, we have the Page of Wands. Lots of curiosity. I definitely see this as like being curious about, like the occult, like 8th house themes. So like, oh, like what's after, like we perish, tarot cards, like astrology, learning something new, bringing more structure. And Saturn rules your 5th house, so like things that you find fun, things that you find enjoyable, getting more curious about the occult and getting more structured about it, maybe trying to make more money off of it, trying to bring some sort of service in from it. But I also just kind of see this as an opportunity where a lot of you are getting very curious about like psychology and like the darker stuff, and learning things that maybe other people wouldn't really want to learn about, but you deciding to like take a dive into it head first and sort of being like, okay, like we're gonna do this. So, and this doesn't even have to be like in the aforementioned themes. Like, this is just very deep rooted curiosity, and it will drive you into a completely new direction. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Virgo. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you. Okay, now we're at Libra rising. So hello, Libra. I've been gassy this whole video, but if I burp a little bit, I'm sorry. I just drink soda. I shouldn't be drinking soda, but I did. Anyways, so this will be a horoscope for Venus in Aries. Venus will be in Aries from March 6th up until March 30th. And for you, it's moving through your 7th house, and Venus rules your 8th house. I'm not gonna lie, Libra, I really want you, if you're not trying to have kids, you need to wear the glove throughout this transit, because Venus will be in a conjunction with Saturn at first. Saturn rules your 5th house. Venus rules your 8th house as well, and your 1st house, so your body. So it's like, especially if you're like a woman, like be careful. This might be a time where a lot of you may deal with like pregnancy scares, or maybe some of you are even trying to have kids, and with Mars in your 6th house, the ruler of your 7th house, maybe there's like, you're having to take care of your health in some way, shape, or form, especially like fluids and like, hormones, and maybe you're taking something, or you're having to, like receive some sort of like service in order to make sure like you're fertile enough to have children. If that not be the case, I also think that this is a lot of work-life balance stuff, because Venus is in your 7th house opposing your 1st house. So it's kind of like, yeah, I definitely think that, you probably hear all the time that this is something about your relationships, with your marriage, with your connections, and a lot of you could, be tying the knot in this transit. But I also think that because Saturn also has ties with your 4th house, this could be a time where a lot of you are signing something. I know a lot of Libra risings have been moving out or establishing some sort of like autonomy when it comes to their living situation. So signing leases, mortgages, especially because Venus does rule your 8th house, I could totally see that, like applying for loans, going back and forth with your bank or something in order to make sure that you are good in some way, shape, or form to take care of something at home with your family stuff. This could be like repairs to your home, and especially with the ruler in the 6th house, it makes me think of like hiring services or people whom you can help. Like, and because the ruler's in Pisces, it makes me think of like plumbers. It makes me think of like, either it's like a water issue in the house and you're hiring someone who can help you with that, or you could even be hiring someone to come in to cleanse your home, like with like sage or like Palo Santo or something like that. whatever it might be, because like there's like a spiritual undertone to this transit because the ruler is in Pisces. But you know, if that not be the case, I also think that a lot of you could just be hiring like a cleaning crew or just trying to get your home together in some way, shape, or form. But you know, a lot of you could also be moving in with a partner or moving out with a partner, and it could just be that a lot of you are scripting something around this topic because Saturn now in your seventh house is like adding a lot of friction to your interpersonal relationships and moving forward when it comes to your living situation and your personal life. And I also think that because Venus will join up with Neptune, it's like a lot of like confusion here and a lot of unrealistic vibes. It's like, oh yeah, like we can just like do this and get this done and do that, you know, like, oh, like we're just gonna get married and be together forever or something like that. Like, be careful of like daydreams and fantasies that aren't necessarily real when it comes to your interpersonal connections. And I also want to mention that Venus will come to a square with Jupiter around the 18th. And this is a time period where I really want you to pay attention, Libra. Jupiter will be direct by this point. Venus will come into a square with Jupiter around the 18th. We will see a new moon in Pisces on the 19th, and then we will see Mercury go direct in Pisces on the 20th. So there is definitely something going on in that threshold that will be interrupting or starting quite new beginnings with your routine, with your health, with service and work situations, especially like could be revolving around a man because Mars is in your sixth house. So like that, you know, is highlighting masculine energies in your workplace, or like maybe like a woman who's very brazen. But I definitely think that because, sorry, I just like zoned out. Venus will square Jupiter in your 10th house. Like there is a major emphasis here on your career and your work and your status. And Jupiter has ties with your third house. So it's like when I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you are going through like technology changes around this time. Maybe some of you are having to update your work, or maybe some of you are having to, you know, like digitally sign into things, or a lot of you could be like signing on to things digitally. Maybe some of you are even like getting on dating apps or something like that. That's y'all's business. I know not all of you have to be doing that, but you know, a lot of you are probably using technology or AI in some way, shape, or form in order to navigate a certain situation in your life when it comes to your relationships in a work situation. And if that not be the case, it could also be that you are trying to strip things back and take things a little bit more simple, like simplifying things. It's like one or the other. But I also think that because Venus rules your 8th house and is in your 7th house, intimacy could be increased with partners, and maybe you're doing so in like a more aggressive fashion. I think that because you are Venus in your chart, a lot of you could be taking more initiative in your connections or taking more action in some way, shape, or form. And a lot of you could just be feeling like, you know, like Libra, like you present yourself as very like charming, likable, and, you know, charismatic in public and in the world, and you are. However, when it gets down to it and you're allowed to like be yourself, like you're a lot more assertive, you're a lot more frustrated and like agitated and security oriented and very suspicious. You totally are. But, you know, not like in a bad way, you know, like that's just how you operate. And you know that not everyone is the way that they seem to be sometimes. So I think that there will be like this huge incentive to uncover secrets and learn new things. And I think that the 8th house ruler in the 7th house and the first, like, there's just something about here where a lot of you could be uncovering deep-rooted traumas or like emotional things. Maybe there's even things revolving around like wills and like legacies and like inheritance that is coming up around this time. And especially with Venus coming to a conjunction with Chiron, I almost wonder if this is you having to like tend to somebody or like service somebody, like take care of someone. Maybe like a family member falls ill, or your partner is going through like an injury, so you're having to like pick up the slack, or you're having to take care of somebody, or vice versa, where somebody is having to take care of you and you're having to sort of pivot your routine in some way, shape, or form. A lot of you could be hiring people, or a lot of you could be just trying to change up your routine to DIY something. But I think that a lot of you, because Venus rules your 8th house, a lot of you are realizing that you can use money in order to save time and energy in some aspect of your life or to improve your life. Anyways, I just think that Venus in Aries for you will just be a fun time for you. Not to say that it will be like fun all the time or that it will be a great thing. It'll be fun in that you'll finally be able to take some sort of action, because I think the Pisces stellium in the 6th house has caused you to be sort of like, oh, like wherever the tide takes me in my routine and whatnot. And this is how you naturally operate. But I think that lately it has, you know, some way, shape, or form eroded or dissolved your personal life or your career matters, and it's causing you to run behind in some way. And I think that this would be an opportunity for you to finally take initiative, whether it be receiving help from people, and people are finally being more decisive, more aggressive, and more fiery with you, so that you can actually interact with them and go back and forth with people to get something done, as opposed to sort of being like, oh, you know, Anyways, I do think that Mars and Pisces will kind of like add like conflict or some kind of like difficulty, especially when it comes to like emotions and like faith in the workplace. So do look out for that. Ooh, for you have the 9 of Coins. Very nice energy. I definitely think that a lot of y'all could start balling into this transit, like in some way, shape, or form. I think that Saturn moving into Aries at first, it's like independence, you know, and like Venus here as well. Like Venus and Saturn do have a good relationship. Saturn likes being in the 7th house, and so does Venus. So it's kind of like, hey yo, like we both hate this sign, but we also love this house. So it's kind of like doing something that you need to do in order to establish independence and feeling good about it, you know, feeling like you have a lot going on, you know, whether it be financially, whether it be in just like your, you know, beliefs, your goals, your visions, and what you want to accomplish for yourself. It's just like you are on the right track in some area of your life and you feel more aligned with yourself because you have decided to do something on your own. And I think that this is going to be a major catalyst for why Venus in Aries will be a fun time for you, because you will have established some sort of independence, and finally now everything is like kind of on you. But just take care, because sometimes responsibilities, they're fun at first, but at time they can start to become a burden. But I think that a lot of you are realizing this and, you know, pivoting in order to minimize burdens. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Libra. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated. Also, I wanted to mention too, a lot of you could be dealing with like property stuff with like work and stuff. So that could be if you own a business. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Libra. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated. And if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you. Okay, now we have Scorpio rising. So hello, Scorpio rising. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for Venus and Aries. Also, I wanted to post for a thumbnail. Like, y'all think that would be cute? I did kind of like this in Aries, but I was also like, wouldn't that be so cute? I think I might do that. Anyways, so Venus will be in Aries from March 6th up until March 30th. And for you, Venus will be moving through the 6th house. I gotta be honest, Venus is not trying to do the 6th house or Aries, but I still get the vibe that a lot of you will like this transit, because Venus in the 6th is actually pretty lit. It's a little bit annoying because it's like, you can't really be like daydreamy, or you can't be like floaty and like happy, you know, and like, you know, it's more of like you find a lot of pleasure and excitement in getting stuff done. And especially with Aries, it's like initiating things. So it's like, we're going to that doctor's appointment today. We're going to vacuum the whole house today. We're going to clean things down. I'm going to bleach the entire kitchen from the ceiling to the floor. You know, especially because Aries is associated with Mars, and Mars is going to be in Pisces. So it's like detoxing and cleaning things up with like liquids and fluids. So a lot of you could be doing like spas, float spas, or like literally, like I said, like just like bleaching everything. I know as a Scorpio, I love bleaching everything. I bleach the sink, I bleach the tub, oh sure. Oh sure. So a lot of you could definitely be in this vibe where a lot of you are trying to clean up things and, you know, sprucing up. Especially because Venus will also be in a conjunction with Saturn. Saturn rules your 4th house, or has ties with your 4th house. So this is an opportunity for a lot of you to clean up something in your home. But aside from that, you know, the 6th house is very health oriented. And I know if you're Scorpio rising and you keep up with astrology in any way, shape, or form, you know that there has been a huge emphasis on your health, on your well-being. And, you know, Aries is about movement. It's about action orientation, and also sometimes morning routine. So a lot of you could be, you know, because Venus is also opposing your 12th house. So it's like your sleep cycles, your alone time, you know, how much time you're spending by yourself to meditate, take care of things. And because I feel like Aries can be sometimes so go that you forget to just, you know, take a moment and to go with the flow, which can be like the difficulty of Venus in the 6th house in Aries. It's like, on one hand, yes, you're getting so much done, but at the same time, there can be a lack of time to just relax and do things that bring you pleasure and joy, the very basis of what life should be about. So definitely find some sort of balance there, and make sure to take care so that you can maximize this transit, so that you can find nice balance, which Venus is about balance. And I think that because, you know, Capricorn also, or excuse me, Saturn rules your 3rd house. Your 3rd house is ruled by Capricorn. And it definitely gives me a sense like 6th and 3rd house, you know, interactions, like a lot of busyness, driving around, moving about, going here, going there. So like literally from like the 6th up until like maybe like the 9th or the 8th, a lot of Scorpio risings maybe going back and forth of like applications, phone calls, calling people, taking care of things, moving about. Maybe there's even something about water going on, maybe like a pipe bust at work, or maybe there's like flooding going on, and this is causing you to sort of have a pivot and, you know, call different people and like go, you know, like deal with that. And I also think that this could be a time where there's some sort of like confusion when it comes to scheduling and stuff. So like missed phone calls, emails not being responded to, alarms not going off, or, you know, having to take care of things and it's sort of clashing with another aspect of your life, and you're having to, you know, weave through that and make sure you can take care of your routines and make sure that everything goes according to plan. And I also wanted to mention that because Neptune's here, like makes me think like, oh, I just had it. Maybe I'll remember, I'll come back to it. But around the 18th is when I really want you to pay attention, Scorpio, because on the 18th, Venus will square Jupiter, who is now stationed direct by that point. Jupiter goes direct on the 11th. And then on the 19th, we see a new moon in Pisces. And then on the 20th, we will see Mercury go direct. And a lot of this is taking place in your 5th house. And mind you, Mars, your chart ruler, but also your 6th house ruler is in the 5th house. So I was thinking that a lot of you could be dealing with like romance, or a lot of you could be dealing with like emotions and like feelings and like something going on, like, you know, like intimacy and secrets going on at like a work situation. So definitely look out for that. I also think that this could be something about like children. So maybe a lot of you are getting your health together, or maybe some of you are providing a service for like your children for something. And others of you, I also just think that this is like a very acts of service time. I think that a lot of you, especially because Venus does rule your 7th house and your 12th house. So like the 12th house ruler is like how we sacrifice. And so in the 6th house, a lot of you could be making sacrifices in your schedule, in your day-to-day routine, in order to service and take care of those that you really love and care about. Aries likes to protect, it likes to defend, it likes to step up to the plate and initiate. So a lot of you could be doing that in your interpersonal relationships in order to help other people make their lives easier in some way, shape, or form. But just take care to allow yourself to be helped as well, because sometimes Aries can be a little bit stubborn in terms of like, oh, like I don't want to do that, like, or I don't want you to do that for me. So it could be that others are trying to serve you and others are trying to help you and be there for you and take initiative with you, but you're like not letting them. So there could definitely be an exploration of this dynamic in your life that needs to be cleared up so that you can find some sort of mutual reception when it comes to boundaries and making sure that you're being loved in the way that you are giving that love. Does that make sense? And especially around the 26th, when Venus will come into a conjunction with Chiron, and this will be after that new moon. So it's like new relationships, new romantic affairs, new intentions of having children, but also new intentions revolving around dating, having fun, doing things that you enjoy, and incorporating this into your routine so that you can actually feel pleasure and feel zest. I also think that this will probably be a time where a lot of you are literally healing. And, you know, because Venus will first come into a conjunction with Saturn and Neptune. Saturn makes me think of like the bones, like the joints and the teeth and what like hair, skin, and Neptune is like fluids and water. So, and the ruler of all this, Mars, is in Pisces, which rules the feet. So, you know, invest in good shoes, invest in slippers or like socks, and get foot massages. But this could also be a time where a lot of you are having to develop boundaries of your body and making sure that you're taking care of yourself so that you're not doing too much, especially with Venus in the 6th house. Is like, you know, working like an overly rigorous job, or like, you know, having to gain assistance for whatever reason. So it's like a lot of you could be having another person take care of you or help you in some way, shape, or form. Let's see. But I think that Venus in the 6th house, the best piece of advice that I have for you to enjoy this transit, wake up early and get things just going. It will be a little bit hard with Mars and Pisces, but I think that a lot of you will really enjoy this if you just take the initiative to wake up earlier and kind of start things early off and spring into it. What card? Yeah, we have the 8 of Coins. This particular card sticks out to me because this figure is doing something that is very difficult and she's creating, but she's also very, you know, like she's hurting her hands, she's hurting her feet, and it's like this is the only way out of it. So I think that Venus in Aries will definitely be a time where a lot of you are doing some sort of dirty work in order to get things done, doing the hard work and putting some sort of labor in to make something happen, to get out of something, to make sure that things are taken care of. And this is what I was saying about like that work-life balance. The completion, that stage, and that satisfaction and victory is inevitable. So knowing that, how can you utilize your time better so that you can maximize pleasure and efficiency at the same time? Anyways, that's all I have for you, Scorpio. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated. And if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to see you in my next horoscope, next video. Bye. I love you. Okay, so now we're at Capricorn rising. So hello, Capricorn. If you're seeing this, this would be your horoscope for, I almost said Saturn, Venus in Aries. And for you, Venus, or for all of us, Venus will be in Aries from March 6th up until March 30th. And for you, Venus will be moving through your 4th house, which is very literal in my eyes, because Venus will be coming to a conjunction with Saturn and Neptune right at the beginning, which is super important for you because you're ruled by Saturn. So I think that this will definitely be something going on when it comes to your family, your home. And you know, I think that because Saturn will conjunct, or Venus will conjunct Saturn, and Venus rules your 5th house, a lot of you could be dealing with like children. So like maybe there's someone in the household who is falling pregnant, or maybe a lot of you are like having pregnancy in like your home in some way, like maybe you're literally having a child. But I also think that because Venus and Saturn together, like that could indicate a older relative, especially like a woman. So maybe for some of y'all, grandma, or you know, your aunt or Susie or something is coming over to stay for a few days, or maybe even like weeks. There could just be like themes of moving for a lot of you. I think that Saturn in your 4th house is definitely already causing like some sort of incentive to establish independence in some way in like your home front and your like deeper emotions, like your personal life. So it's like if you share a room, or if you live with your family, or if you know, like you're living in a basement or something, this could definitely be like, oh, okay, like I'm moving out, not dealing with this. But this could also be that someone is coming to stay with you and you're having to sort of like take care of them and whatnot, especially because your 6th house ruler Mercury is retrograde right now, and it's retrograde in your 3rd house. So this could definitely be like a relative or like an immediate relative coming over to stay with you, and you're having to sort of pivot your schedule around them. Venus also rules your 10th house. So I think it's interesting because Venus is, you know, like she's in her opposite sign right now. She's in her fall. And so she is opposing your 10th house from your 4th house. So some sort of clash of like your career or like your status, but this could also be like a delay when it comes to, or clash when it comes to like a home personal matter, but a delay in your career. Like I see this as, man, like I'm having to step away from work because I need to take care of grandma at home. I need to, you know, she's paying me, but like I want to work on my own goals and my own career and what I want to do. So a lot of you could be taking care of something like that right now. It should be, excuse me, it should be noted that Venus does like to harmonize, and Venus and Saturn do have a good relationship. So I think that this is an opportunity where it's like there is the incentive to take care of something. Not all of you Cap risings are probably like, oh, I don't want to do this. It's probably for a lot of you like, oh, like I really care about her. You know, I still love her. I want to take care of her. I want to make sure that she's okay. So I'm going to do this, this, and that, and take time away so that I can make sure that, you know, that's all taken care of. And this will happen around like the 7th and the 8th. So this will definitely be like right as the transit kicks off, and that will probably set the tone for the rest of Venus and Aries for a lot of you. This could also be that maybe some of you are, because Saturn does have ties with your 2nd house as well, you could be investing into your home or your living situation in some way. Maybe a lot of you, especially with like Neptune, a lot of you could be renovating bathrooms, kitchen sinks, or repiping your home, or taking care of like water damage. Like maybe there's like floorboards or something that is being renovated and taken care of. The ruler of all this, Mars, is in your 3rd house as well. So a lot of you could be dealing with like infrastructure, like maybe issues in like the neighborhood, especially if you have like neighbors or something that are acting crazy, or if there's like a lack of boundaries of neighbors, or if there's just like issues going on in the neighborhood when it comes to like water. So like maybe like water pipes go down or something, or maybe there's like flooding and like your whole neighborhood's like taken out and you need to like take care of that. But if that not be the case as well, I also think that this could be about like belief systems and faith when it comes to your family sector. So I think that a lot of you, because Pisces reminds me of like emotional boundaries. I think that a lot of you are establishing this in some way, shape, or form with your family. And I think that this will be kind of like, you know, the hard thing to do. Like Venus in Aries is like she is wanting to harmonize your home and your family, but she's having to do so in a way that she's not used to, i.e. Aries. So it's like, you know, telling your parents or like telling people like back off, like you need your alone time, or you want to do this, or you want to make time for pleasure and do things that you love, or you want to work on your own goals, but you're having to do so in a way that's like a little bit aggressive or a little bit mean. It's kind of like that, you know, where you kind of have like, man, I really care about these people and I don't want to yell at them, but like also y'all are irritating me. I'm about to snap on y'all so that I can do what I need to do and get done because I've already tried telling y'all the nice way, you know, especially because Venus was in Pisces. So it's kind of like the sense of like, oh, you know, like it's fine, I'll just go with the flow and whatnot. And it was probably very pleasurable for a lot of you, but I think that now you're gonna have a lot more fun throughout this transit, personally, I think, because I think that Venus in Pisces was probably a little bit too floaty for you. And I think Venus in Aries will finally be like, okay, like I'm gonna be mean, and then people are gonna be accepting of it, and I'll finally be able to do what I want to do. Sorry, I'm like trying to get comfortable. And I want you to pay attention because on the 18th, Venus will square Jupiter, who has stationed direct since the 11th of March. And then on the 19th, we will see a new moon in Pisces. And then on the 20th, Mercury will station direct. So it's like this little triplet of days will be very important for you, Capricorn, for all of us. I think that it'll be new beginnings, buying a car, or like, you know, refinancing a car, getting a car repaired so that it's up and running again, fixing a radiator, fixing a fridge, fixing some sort of appliance in the home that will maximize convenience and routine. Or maybe this could also be like doubling back on your sleep schedule, making sure that you're being taken care of in that sense. I also think that a new moon in the third house is very curious. So like learning something new beginnings of like siblings and relatives. This is your mind essentially. And in Pisces, it's very poetic. So I think that this could be a very good time for you to write things down. And especially because Jupiter also rules your 12th house, and it's in your 7th house. So it's like new intentions with communication and boundaries within your interpersonal relationships, how you're speaking to them. And maybe for a lot of you too, you're signing a lease or something, or signing some sort of important document to cement something into place. And I think that'll heavily be related to like a third or fourth house thing. So like it could be like a new appliance, car, or like a home situation, but it could also be that a lot of you are intentionally communicating something to another person and maybe receiving communication from another person. So a lot of you could be hearing back from old jobs. Maybe some of you are getting opportunities from the past in some way, shape, or form to like old applications or people whom you haven't interacted with in a very long time. And I think that it will be like a good thing, you know? It's kind of like, okay, like I can finally get back to doing what I've been wanting to do instead of always taking care of stuff at home. Let me pull a card. Close my eyes. I've been closing my eyes this whole video for it. Ooh, for you, we have the Queen of Coins. Lots of queens and like court cards with this deck today. But I think the Queen of Coins definitely shows like there could be like an earthy woman coming to your place, and maybe she's like assisting you or something, or like doing nice things for you. Maybe she's like cleaning up for you, helping you, nurturing you, baking for you, cooking for you, or something like that. Or there's just like, you know, Venus in the fourth, like that's still like beauty in the home and family. So it's like a woman coming in, a woman helping you, a woman bringing good things to you in exchange for, you know, you helping her. Like I said, I don't think that this is someone that's like you hate. I just think that there is like people around her that maybe you just don't like. I don't know, like I think that this will just be a time where there's an emphasis on an earthy woman in your life who likes to nurture and provide. And also this could be you, you know, like you stepping into an earthiness and you seeking out pleasure and enjoyment, especially because Venus does rule your 5th house of pleasure and in the 4th house. So it's like staying home, doing cozy hobbies, or working out at home, or doing things at home that you just really enjoy. Like maybe like yoga, cleaning up, sprucing up, and taking care of things, meditation. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Capricorn. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you. Okay, so now we're at Aquarius. So hello, Aquarius rising. If you're seeing this, this will be a horoscope for Venus and Aries. I just turned on the light, it's getting dark out. Venus will be in Aries from March 6th up until March 30th. And for you, this will be in your Third house. So I think Venus in the third house is actually pretty fun. And in Aries, I think that this is like a time where maybe a little bit, because the ruler of Aries, Mars, is in your second house. So a lot of you could be investing money into like third house themes. So it's like buying books, investing in your car, investing in technology, information to make your life more accessible, more convenient, more interesting. So that could definitely be a relevant theme for a lot of you. But Venus in the third in Aries, it makes me think of like doing fun stuff, honestly. Excuse me. Makes me think of like going to like amusement parks. It makes me think of going out and trying new spots like coffee spots. The third house is also siblings and relatives, so a lot of you could be dealing with like an aunt, or especially like a woman, like an aunt or like a sister. And because Venus will also come into a conjunction with Saturn and Neptune at first, maybe it's like an older sister or like an older aunt or something. And because Saturn also has ties with your 12th house, I think that this could be a time where a lot of you are having like intuitive hits and there's like a desire to be isolated, be alone, or be around the right people. And Aries wants to do things first, and Venus and Saturn sort of working together to harmonize this and find some sort of like discipline. And Venus has ties with your 9th house as well as your 4th house. So it's like definitely something about home and family will be coming up throughout this time. A lot of you could just be like installing a new AC system or something, but this could definitely also be that a lot of you are taking initiative to be home and innovate something in your home. Like maybe you're trying to change up your bedroom. Maybe there's like changes going on with like your living situation. Maybe some of you are having to move long distances, or maybe there is something going on with like your extended family and then you're having to go back and forth with your immediate family to sort it out. And I do want to say that because the ruler of all this, Mars, is in the second house, like there is like a huge incentive here when it comes to like a financial situation and when it comes to money and your values. And I think that with Venus in the third, it's like you're vocalizing it and you're trying to communicate this more. So I think that a lot of you are trying to vocalize your confidence more, set more boundaries, and to be a little bit more aggressive in this area. And yeah, that's really the best way to say it. Is like Venus in the third is just like learning new things, pursuing information, and initiating the conversations that need to be had in respect and in tandem to your self-worth and your confidence and your identity, what you believe is right and what you stand for. But like I said, this could also just be a time where a lot of you are investing a lot of money into transportation and quality of life stuff. And it could be related to like flying around. So like maybe a lot of you are investing into traveling or booking classes or trying to get something done in this regard of your life. And it could just be very financially themed. And maybe it's revolving around like your living situation, like I said. So maybe some of you are having to like move long distances, or maybe some of you are having to consider something and it has to be relevant to like your living situation. So it makes me think like, man, I want to go to this school, but I live over here, so like how can I make this happen? Or I want to do this, but then my family lives over here. So it's like you're sort of having to pivot around something about like an emotional attachment to like your home and your family and your roots. And you're wanting to venture out, you're wanting to do new things, but you're kind of having to sort of be like, okay, like what do I choose at that point? And especially because Saturn rules your 12th house of like your blind spots and whatnot. So a lot of you might be feeling very confused in this regard. So I think that this will be a time where a lot of you are having to sort of step into the dark in some area of your life, where you're having to do something completely new and something like on your own instead of receiving aid from other people. You're kind of just having to be like, no, like I got to do this on my own, or I really need to meditate on this. And if you're trying to surround yourself with people around this time, Aquarius, I think that this is just a very appropriate time where you should take care to meditate and to think about something instead of like being around other people and getting agitated by them as a means to get your answer. So it's like, oh, I'm gonna do this because this person made me mad and I want to rebel against them. It's like, instead of doing that, to kind of meditate over something like, I want to do this because I want to do it because blank, blank, and blank. And pay attention around the 18th, because we will also see Venus come into a square of Jupiter. And then on the 19th, we will see a new moon in Pisces. And then on the 20th, Mercury will station direct in Pisces. And mind you, by this point, Jupiter will have stationed direct on the 11th. So I think that this triplet of days will definitely emphasize a lot when it comes to your money and your self-worth, because it's in like a lot of your second house, and Jupiter is in your 6th house. So it's like when it comes to like your health, your routine, and your wellness and taking care of your body. But I also think that because a lot of this stuff is happening in your second house, so it's like, and with Pisces, it makes me think of like your self-worth when it comes to your faith, your belief, your emotions. You want your emotions and your mental health to be valued, but it's like you need to value these things. You need to put importance onto them instead of projecting it onto other people. Like you need this, you need to evaluate yourself, and then you need to advocate for that. And that's what Venus and Aries will be helping you do, because Mars will also be in your second house. So a lot of you may run into conflict and situations where that challenge this about you, especially because the sun, your seventh house ruler, is also in your second house. So there's like something going on here where like emotional boundaries will have to be fortified in some way, or you'll have to stand up for it, and you'll have to advocate for this part of yourself. And through sixth house themes, so through respect for your day-to-day schedule, for your work and your craft and what you do for others, this part will have to be, light will be shone on it by the right people. Especially if you feel like you're constantly in service to or constantly taking care of your family. So this might be a sector of your life as well where you're gonna have to set some sort of like emotional boundary to be like, no, like if you're not gonna appreciate me and like recognize all that I already do, then I don't want to do any more of this for you. Do you get what I'm saying? So a lot of you could be dealing with something like that, especially around the 26th when Venus will come into a conjunction with Chiron. And so I think that this will be a time where a lot of you might get into arguments throughout this transit. I'm not gonna lie. And a lot of you might be getting into like fights or like conflict, especially like at the beginning of the transit and at the end of the transit. Throughout the middle of the transit, I think that a lot of you will be like entering a monk vibe, or a lot of you are trying to like set aside time to do things on your own and sort of meditating on it and thinking like, okay, like how can I move forward with myself? How can I do these things? And how can I figure this out? Anyways, let me pull a card for you. At least in terms of, you know, goals within like your personal life. I do want to say that since Mars does rule your 10th house as well, I think that this will be a time where sorting out things and, you know, weaving through things in your personal life will also inadvertently improve your career and your status, especially if you feel like you're dealing with like domineering people in your life, or people are somehow controlling you in some way, shape, or form, and you don't like it. Venus is sextiling your ascendant, so it's like if you take that action to communicate and say it, then that's when things will happen for you. So take that initiative. Yeah, for you we have the Ace of Wands. What a pretty card. I definitely think that because it's a paintbrush, a lot of you could be starting like a new creative venture. So maybe some of you are like writing, learning a new language, or finding ways to like write a book, publish something, or, you know, trying to dabble into some sort of knowledge. Like Ace of Wands is like a very passionate new beginning. And this is also very like intimate energy. Like I almost wonder like Venus in the third house, like maybe some of y'all getting on them dating apps and meeting someone who's like older than you or something. But anyways, be careful of like delusion and like illusion in this area of your life. But overall, I think that this will be a time where a lot of you are starting some sort of new creative venture, or being a lot more creative in problem solving and taking care of things in your life. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Aquarius. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you. Okay, last but not least, we have Pisces. So hello, Pisces rising. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for Venus in Aries. And for you, Venus will be moving through your second house. Venus will be in Aries from March 6th up until March 30th. I gotta say, Pisces, let me get some tea. Now for the real tea. Venus in the second house is really fun. I personally think so. And in Aries, especially with the ruler Mars being in your first house by this point, a lot of you could be splurging money on like your physical appearance. So a lot of you around this time could be buying things like jewelry, hats, clothes, accessories, or maybe even some of you are investing in like surgery and, you know, like getting work done, like Botox or like injections and whatnot. So that's maybe something that a lot of you are getting into around this time. I also think that because Mars is this could be also a time where a lot of you are moving, so like exercising, work, and just somehow in some way, like the second house can also be like your diet, and like Aries likes to Aries is very like detox vibes, and I think that with Saturn being in the mix, his Venus will come into a conjunction with Saturn and Neptune immediately. So like on the 6th, 7th, and 8th, 6th, 7th. Anyways, so I definitely think that this will be a time where a lot of you are restricting yourself in like a second house theme at first. So maybe some of you are going on a diet, maybe some of you are restricting yourself, and like Pisces, it makes me think of like fluids and whatnot. So maybe some of you are going on like some sort of fluid diet, or like, you know, trying to get into smoothies or like detoxes, energy shots and whatnot. So that could be relevant for a lot of you. I think that Venus in the second house just overall inclines you to make investments and to be a little bit more impulsive with your money. So definitely take care. Saturn does rule your 11th house. So maybe some of you are investing money into going out with your friends, spending time with them, taking care. So, and 11th house is like goals and your dreams. So a lot of you could be spending money in order to do something in the future, or maybe even for something of like social media, especially if you're like getting into like content creation. So maybe a lot of you are investing money into equipment or props or something of that sort. Venus does have ties with your 8th house as well as your 3rd house. So yeah, definitely something about like technology could be important. Maybe some of you are applying money for like a car or like a loan or something in order to pay off something. Others of you could be paying off a debt or something, especially because Venus will also conjunct Saturn. Like totally makes you think of like going back and forth of like a group of people or like a foundation or something in order to refinance something or to sort out something about your financial situation. But because Venus also rules your 8th house and conjunct your 11th house ruling the 2nd house, a lot of you could be finding self-worth or seeking validation from people by getting intimate with them. And I gotta say that I think that because Mars is in your 1st house, a lot of you could be getting self-worth by being intimate with people and getting down with people, or like maybe even like showing aggression, like anger, or like taking what you want and being kind of like not selfish, but like taking what you want and like not really caring. So this could be a time where a lot of you are unleashing this part of yourself, and I would just say take care, because this might also inadvertently lead you into like a spiral of like hedonism and just constantly looking for the next pleasure and the next dopamine hit. And although this will be a really fun time for you, I also think that this is a time where you really want to make sure that you're staying regulated, and I think that Saturn and Venus together will help you make sure to find some sort of balance in your life, especially if you feel like you've been splurging or if you have been overindulging in some way in order to fill some kind of void. I especially think that Venus in Pisces taught you something about that, because Venus, rules your 8th house of like trauma and your emotional difficulties and fears. So I think that very difficult themes have been manifesting in your physical body and how you react to things, especially if you feel like you're disassociated or if you feel like you're confused. And I think that Venus in Aries will allow you to become a lot more present by interacting with your material realm and what you put in your body a little bit more differently. And keep in mind, because around the 18th, we will see Venus come into a square with Jupiter, who has stationed direct by March 11th. And then on the 19th, we will see Venus, or we will see a new moon in Pisces. And then on the 20th, Mercury will station direct in Pisces. So this will be a time where a lot of you are probably seeing new beginnings through cleaning up things and mopping up stuff in your interpersonal connections, completions when it comes to leases and agreements, and handshakes that you've had with other people. And I think that this will be a huge opportunity for a lot of you to get more serious about something in your home, your family. Maybe some of you are going through healing after having children. Maybe some of you are going through healing when it comes to doing things that you want to do, being more creative, being more dreamy, because Jupiter is stationing direct in your 5th house and Venus is squaring from your 2nd house. So it's like, on one hand, do take care, because this could be another time where a lot of you are overindulging. So it's like around the 18th, a lot of you could be spending a lot of money. So definitely take care. Definitely be a little bit careful, because this might be a time where a lot of you are having a little bit too much fun, especially like Mars and Pisces. This makes me think of like too much stimulants, too much overstimulation, too much caffeine, too much food. It's buying all these things, going out and partying a lot, getting too drunk. So definitely try to find some sort of balance around there. I think that Venus square Jupiter will be a time where a lot of you are having a little bit too much fun. And because Jupiter's in your 5th house, I think that this could be like, wanting to furnish your home, renovate your home or something like that. I totally wouldn't be surprised if that's something that is going on, especially since your 4th house ruler Mercury has also been retrograde in your 1st house. So it makes me think that a lot of you are probably dealing with something at home with like kids and family and whatnot, and you're trying to establish boundaries in that sector of your life. The 2nd house is also where we gain boundaries from, and I think that with Venus here, a lot of you will find value and a lot of intimacy in telling people like, hey, I don't like that, hey, I don't want to do this, hey, let's do this, or something like that. So I think that Venus in the 18th and the 19th and the 20th will just be ironically a very good time where a lot of you are achieving intimacy by allowing others to get to know you more and you being more present in your body. And then on the 26th, we will see Venus come into a conjunction with Chiron. So I definitely get the vibe that there will be an incentive around that time where a lot of you are being put through experiences or putting yourself in some sort of situation where you've never done this before, like being financially independent when you've always had somebody to like sort of like help you or take care of you, or you know, being independent in some aspect of your life where you've always been like coddled, or you know, always had something in order to assist you, or like you just never had to worry about it. And I think that around the 26th, when we see that conjunction, it will be a time where a lot of you are getting very serious and taking more action. Like it might be stressful, it might be like really like it will uncover a deep-rooted trauma in some way, especially if like there's like people have done these things for you and you owe them something back, you know. So it might be a time where you are learning to integrate this independence into your life while also letting go of that codependence, or letting go of that give and take that was draining you for such a long time. So I think that this will put you through an experience where you're kind of like, hey, like I can do these things on my own and I don't need anyone to help me. My throat hurts from talking. Oh, I can't wait to. Oh, wow. For you, we have the Two of Cups. I was thinking about this card because I love this Two of Cups specifically. Connection, intimacy with people, meeting up with someone even though you're very different from them. I definitely think that a lot of you could be having a valuable exchange throughout this transit, or learning from another person at a very deep level, or allowing others to get to know you. There will be more, ironically, more give and take. It will be more like what is taken will be given back in full, or vice versa. It will feel less, it'll feel like less debt in your life in some way, shape, or form. Less emotional, financial, and karmic debt. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Pisces. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you.